Hi, this is Britt McKim, President of JCTA. I just wanted to take a few moments to update you on legislative issues and talk to you about next steps. First of all, I'm sure you've heard by now that the governor announced yesterday he had signed the pension reform bill, Senate Bill 151, into law. We are frustrated and angered and disappointed by the governor's announcement. Certainly this will make it much harder for Kentucky to attract and keep quality educators in the future, but make no mistake, we are not done with this fight. The Attorney General, Andy Beshear, has announced he's going to challenge the law in court, and KEA and JCTA will be right there with him. And there are multiple fronts on the legal side as far as Pension Bill 151 is concerned. The process by which it was passed does not comply with state law, and we believe that that should invalidate the entire bill. And the provision dealing specifically with sick leave use for pension purposes for current active teachers, the Attorney General has found to be unconstitutional because it violates the inviolable contract, and we will also be litigating on that issue. So we'll keep you informed on the progress on the legal challenge to the law as we move forward with that. But for now, we have to shift our focus back to the legislature and specifically to the state budget and the revenue bill that goes with it. And let me say, while there is no such thing as a perfect budget or a perfect revenue bill, and the association certainly has its concerns with some of the regressive nature of the revenue methods used in this bill, make no mistake, this revenue bill generates $487 million in new revenue, with the overwhelming majority of that going toward public education. And the governor's veto will have the effect of denying hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue to our public schools and the students they serve. And so that's why we are saying how it is critical that the legislature override the governor's veto of the revenue and budget bill and restore that funding to our public schools. You may ask, what is that public school funding going toward in this budget? And I'll just give you some highlights. That $487 million in new revenue is being used to do things including increase the SEEK funding to its highest dollar level ever, restore the SEEK transportation funding that was cut in the governor's budget, fully fund the ARC for TRS and all other public employee pension systems, to provide fully funded health insurance for both active and retired teachers. The budget also provides no funding for charter schools and no funding for tuition tax credits. And if we are not able to override the governor's veto, and we have to deal with a new budget bill in a special session called by the governor, and we have empowered the governor by demonstrating that we're not able to override his vetoes, then it is very likely that both of those provisions could make their way into a subsequent budget bill. So that's a very, very big issue to us. The budget also increases funding for our family resource youth service centers, not just restore, but increases the funding. It includes funding of over $3 million for safe schools. It restores funding for our food service programs in our schools. It has $1 million each year for advanced placement for low-income kids. It's got $7.5 million of funding in it that was cut for preschool grant programs, so our kindergartners come in better prepared. It's got $4 million for at-risk dropout prevention. It has almost $2 million each year for the Governor's Scholars Program, and it keeps the employees who work at the teacher retirement system separate from the governor's personnel cabinet, which is very important to us to have that independence. All of those provisions are at risk if we cannot override the governor's veto. That's why it's so important. So, what can we do between now and those decisions of the legislature? Well, immediately, we're asking our members to work with their building reps to reach out to businesses and organizations in the community and allow them to show their support for teachers, public education employees, and our public schools by placing a sign in their window or storefront that says they stand with us and stand with in support of public education. We emailed out PDF documents yesterday of those signs that you can easily print out, and if you have a friend or a neighbor who has a business or a storefront or any organization that would be willing to put those signs up to show support, we'd love to see those pop up everywhere so that legislators will see those signs everywhere they go. Another thing that's happening between now and Friday is we're having many schools are planning to do walk-ins on Thursday morning in support of overriding the governor's harmful veto. And if your school is going to be doing a walk-in, we'd love to hear about it here at JCTA so we can let the media know. And we'd love to get some pictures that we can post for everyone to see. So if you're doing a walk-in Thursday morning, please let us know. We'd love to know about it. And then that brings us to Friday and Saturday. The last 2 days of the legislative session will be Friday and Saturday, and we're encouraging everyone who can to get to Frankfort those days, both days, or if you can't make it both days, at least one or the other. We have many people who have indicated that they are planning to use a personal day, which they have every right to use. And we believe if enough people use their personal days on Friday and couple that with the routine level of sick day usage on Friday, we may well see the entire school district close, as many other districts are, allowing hopefully all of us to be able to engage in advocacy for our students on Friday and Saturday. So we're waiting for details from KEA regarding logistics. As soon as we have those details, we'll pass them along to you by social media and by email. So watch the JCTA Facebook page and watch your inbox for that. And after the legislative session ends, and it cannot come soon enough, we will then be shifting gears and focusing on the electoral process, where we will be registering voters, educating voters, and engaging voters to vote for candidates that support public education and public education employees. So we're going to turn our energy and our frustration toward the electoral process as soon as we get through the legislative process, so be prepared for that. That's an update on where we are and some next steps ahead of us. If you have any questions, contact JCTA, and we will work with you to get the answers you need. Thank you for everything you're doing. And I just have to say, if you look at the kind of fiscally conservative legislature that we have right now, the very fact that we have engaged as we have and generated a state budget with almost $500 million in new revenue, with almost all of it going to public education, that is remarkable nationwide. You just don't see that happening. And so we have a lot to be proud of, but we are not done yet, and we won't be done until we get the budget override passed so that we can get hundreds of millions of dollars to our public schools. Thank you again for all you do. This is Brent McKim at JCTA.